Ben.
Hello, Nell. How are you?
I'm great, darling. How are you? Oh, my God, you're not going to believe it. Your name is the name of my late father-in-law.
Really?
Kevin Roche.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild? And my daughter's name is Matilda Roche.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't see that name too often.
Before we begin, let's take a virtual selfie. Get ready to
Yeah.
pose in 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great to meet you today, Nell. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm so impressed with your chair. It's got a neck rest.
Yeah, I kind of stole this from one of my family members here. I was like, I'm gonna sit here for a bit, so I'll go borrow that chair so I can lean back and be comfortable.
It looks really comfortable.
Yeah.
Has it got arms?
Yeah, it does. So kind of little throne going on here.
Oh, fantastic. So where are you?
I am in Charleston, South Carolina, actually.
Oh, what a divine place to live.
Oh,
I
I know.
adore Charleston. Do you love it?
I do. I'm a big history buff, so I never get tired of learning new stuff here.
Oh, that's great. I love that you're a history buff.
Yeah.
So you know, the English are very interested in history as a generalization.
Yeah.
And do you watch lots of things on YouTube?
Yeah, I watch a lot of just short videos about places I'm interested in, or also just documentaries that may come on TV. I've been to Europe once, and I hit about 5 countries. I have not been to England yet, but it is absolutely on my bucket list.
And tell me, what kind of history are you particularly interested, or is there a particular type?
Yeah, so I went to college for European history, so I kind of spanned like British history, but also even expanded into history of Russia. And
But what kind of, like, what period? Medieval? Or?
Yeah, I would say kind of like Civil War area, like the 1800s in America, but also industrial age overseas.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I just actually saw, I've got it right here. Wait there. Hold on, I've got to get it for you. I just saw this amazing Civil War photograph in this terrific magazine I just found.
Okay.
Hold on. Because, of course, photographs of that time, and you know, here it is. It's a Union-free hospital after Battle of June, 27th,
Oh, wow.
1862. Hold on, let me get it so you can see it well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wait. I'm just going to move my tea.
Oh, that's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, what a photo.
Yeah. It's in this
That's
wonderful book
amazing.
that I found, that magazine.
Yeah.
So now before we will speak for, I think this 2-minute thing is absolutely absurd. It's such a short time. And we will go longer, but tell me, are there any, before we talk about history, which I could go on and on about.
Sure.
Oh, well, I want to know if you've got any questions to ask me, but before we say that, now I was just reading, of course, my memory is always dreadful, but there are some rocks, and I'm not going to, of course, I won't remember even where they are, and they've decided the rocks mean that they're like something like 170 million years older than they thought they were. Have you read about anything about that? I think it was in The Guardian.
No, I don't think so. I have not heard of that.
It's incredible, isn't it? They go, wait
That
a
is
minute.
amazing.
It is just incredible because, of
Yeah.
course, the DNA testing of everything just gets more astute, and it is amazing. Oh, and did you see the boat they just fished out of the lake, the canoe? Wait a minute, where was that? You won't believe it. I think it was like Michigan or somewhere. They just found these guys, two, and I think they call themselves something like archaeological scuba divers, or you know, they weren't just, you know, they were scuba diving in the lake. This is only like last week, and
wow.
and one of them thought what they saw was a log, and then on closer inspection, it is a canoe from, like, you know, American Indians, you know, such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was in incredible condition, because it didn't have any light on it. That was one of the reasons.
Okay. Yeah.
But you would think that the water would have rotted the wood. You've got to Google this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I've got the lake wrong, you'll see the canoe. It's in such incredible condition. And the person being interviewed said, you have to imagine that they had no modern implements. They cut down this enormous, for the canoe to be like that, obviously the trunk had to be like this, that they cut that tree down with nothing other than their very simple, manual things that they made out of stones. And then they carved out the whole goddamn tree to get that canoe.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm always fascinated by that stuff.
And what about, do you know about the that ship that they found right beneath the museum in the water? I think it was in Scandinavia somewhere. Wait, where are the Vikings from? Norway?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to read about that. They found, because you see, the mud preserves them, I think. They found this unbelievable, you've got to Google, I don't know if maybe they did the museum for it. They built a museum right where they found it. But anyway, it's the most incredible Viking ship. Like the length that I'm looking as far as I can see in my house.
Yeah.
It's just
amazing.
so magical. But where you have to go is Egypt.
Oh, that's also very high up on my list.
Oh.
I have wanted to see the Great Pyramids my entire life.
You can't fit a knife between the stones.
I can believe that.
Get your head round it.
Yeah, that's, again, going back that many years and that they're able to do that, like, intricate of work. It's amazing. And
they still haven't actually worked out how they built them. And they try, but one thing I know that they do think they know is that the people that built the pyramids were doing it for love, because they don't think they could have gotten them to do that. They were doing it, I suppose they thought love, Pharaoh, God. Sure. Because if you couldn't pay people to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And then they also think they built walls.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of built walls to like reach the bits.
Yeah.
And they just keep, so there's the pyramids like that, and the walls they build up. I mean,
I know, it's so crazy. The
interiors. And of course the stones aren't local.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything about, when you go there, one of the things, actually, I think I was in Turkey, which is another incredible place to see ruins.
Sure.
You see in the ancient road of it wasn't at Ephesus, but it was at one of the hundreds of incredible sites.
Mm-hmm.
There are these grooves in the road, and Kevin, they are made by the chariots. That's how often those chariots went down that road of stone.
Yeah.
That there are chariot marks in the stone. Now, that was out of all my travels, that was the thing that most made me really get a grasp on, this other. It shouldn't, I don't think it should be seen as an other civilization. What do you, I mean, we're just a progression.
Yeah.
I called ancient civilization, but we are just it's almost like magic or something another time. But you imagine how long.
I would agree with that. That things we've become more developed over time. So it's amazing to go back and see where we've come from and where we've ended up now, for sure. Yeah. Amazing.
It is incredible. My mother, who died a few years ago, was 95, and even in her time period, things changed so much, because of course going from pre-computers,
mm-hmm.
that alone is just such an enormous leap.
Yeah.
And she said late in her, she said the two things in her lifetime, and she was brought up in the country in Australia, but she then went on to have a sort of very sophisticated life, just because she was this extraordinary person. But she said the only two things that had improved in her lifetime were medicine and washing machines. There weren't washing machines in her when she was young, and of course medicine has progressed a lot. But one of the really interesting things that she said is that people used to have so much more free time.
Yeah.
When in her days.
Yeah.
And of course we think, oh, the computer has saved us so much time, but in fact she says, no, people had so much more free time.
Yeah. That's amazing though.
So now, have you got any questions you'd like to ask me? I could go on forever about all this. Go on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that with me. I can talk history all day. Obviously, I love your work in Rocky Horror, but I've also been really inspired by your singing. Just not just in Rocky Horror, but also like with I Want to Be a Beauty Queen, I believe.
Oh, thank you.
And I was wondering. Yeah, and I was wondering who you were influenced by musically, whether it was back then or current day. Like, do you have any artists that you love or any styles that you like musically?
Oh, there's so many artists I love, but I mean, I've had such a limited career singing, and so no one's influenced me. But on that subject, I've got to tell you, I've just finished reading Bert Bacharach's autobiography.
Okay.
Do you know who I mean?
I don't think so. Who is that again?
Oh, Bert Bacharach wrote so many songs like "What's It All About, Alfie," and "Do You Know the Way to San Jose?" He was like this 60s icon. Anyway, it's just speaking of history, I love reading about and seeing. If you see, like, you can see the Beach Boys on YouTube. Yeah. Recording something from Pet Sounds, I think it is, and it's just so exciting when you see someone just go, no, wait a minute, try that backwards without, and then it becomes an iconic song, you know? Yeah. So no one has influenced me, but some of my favorite singers are Nina Simone, definitely. Okay. I love lots of raspy voiced singers. Yeah. Who do you love?
These days, Ed Sheeran is a big influence on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love the singer-songwriter stuff, but with your singing in particular, the theatricality elements of it that you've done have really like kind of inspired me in my own music these days. So I really appreciate all your work for sure.
What do you work?
I do acoustic guitar and singing as like kind of a side gig outside of my normal job.
And your normal job is what?
I work for like a chemical solutions company here in Charleston.
Right.
So I do this job and then I go do music like on the side.
I wish you could work in a museum.
I would love to. That is the absolute dream job. I did an internship at a Medal of Honor museum here in Charleston, down by the water, for a summer in college, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life.
Oh, how great. And do you do reenactments?
I haven't. I just went to my first one, though, like maybe a month ago. And we went to Magnolia Cemetery here, and we watched Civil War battle reenactments, and they were shooting off the cannon and shooting blanks on the guns, and then kind of making it like a ghost tour.
Darling, after Alec Baldwin, I don't want to see any fake anything. Like, you know, can you believe all that trouble?
I know, it's insane.
He's going to be because he was one of the producers. It's really complicated everything.
Yeah.
Because he's both the victim and the cause. Mm-hmm. But well, that's. I mean, I have you read Gone with the Wind?
I think I've read part of it before, but not the entirety. But I know it's a classic with my mom, and we've talked a lot about it as well. So,
because I'll tell you what is interesting about that book. Number one, everything. Number two, the author, whose name's